Yes. Good evening, dear participants. Welcoming you all for the third day. It's International Research Technology Workshop. So today's resource person is Dr. Arul Octavian Krishraj sir. He is an expert in the field of research and publication. So without any delay, we are handing the session to him. Dear participants, as per the studies protocol, the class will start from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. You are free to ask your queries as well as discussions after 7:45. We have locked the group to avoid unwanted disturbs, right? We will be open the group by 7:45. Thank you so much for your patience and cooperation. And without any delay, let me invite our resource person of our day, Dr. Arul Aptavin sir, to take over.
Am I audible?
Sir, you're completely audible, sir.
Okay. So, good evening, all of you. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me, the resource person, for this the third day. So, I will be sharing my PPT and I hope it's visible. Yeah. I hope it's visible now, the slides.
Yes, sir, completely visible, sir. It is fine. It is fine.
Yeah, I will start with the straight away. I'll start with the today, the third day of the workshop. So mixed method research design, the types of mixed method research design, that's what you're going to see today. Before that, I just want to start with the quote from the John W. Crushwell. When we are talking about mixed method research, the John W. Crushwell is one of the pioneer when it's come to mixed method research. From this is quote only I'm starting that the good sound research project begin with the straightforward, uncomplicated thoughts that are easy to read and understand. So from this, when we have, first 2 days, we might have some understanding, other broader, some of them might have a broad as well as a brief understanding about what is mixed method research. So it has a both quantitative as well as qualitative. That's why before starting a mixed method research, what are things supposed to keep it in your mind? Okay. Yeah. So the research design which you are going to see today, as per the quantitative as well as qualitative. Quantitative already see the research design. It's a blueprint. That's what from the Crushwell 2014 as well as Kerlan 1986 also we clearly said is a blueprint about that entire research. So research design is overall plan which provides specific direction for procedures in the research. At the same time, sometimes I use MMR, mixed method research. Is a compare with the qualitative as well quantitative. This exclusively this when it's come to mixed method research is design is based upon the realistic value. At the same time, it allows the combination of qualitative as well as quantitative method. So when we are already might have some understanding about how this mixed method research is evolved. So MMR also says that sometimes it's called as quantitative as well as qualitative methods, hybrid research, combined research, methodological triangulation. So these are the different names also evolved. At the same time, the evaluation of the types of research designs also evolved. Even 2013 also, if you have seen, there is a research. They said there are more than 30 different types of mixed methods research design, out of which we are going to have a certain few research design which is mainly used by the researcher. So when we are before going to the state going to the mixed method research types of mixed method research design, so when we are supposed to conduct the mixed method research design, so we want to have a certain understanding about why we want to have a conduct a mixed method research design. So researcher should have both qualitative as well as quantitative data when you are going to do mixed method research, and it's about search for building on strength on both quantitative as well as qualitative data. In that case, we can go for mixed method research design. So mixing of both quantitative as well as qualitative data, whether the research need to be more powerful, then that the case we can go for this mixed method research design. Enables at the same time as a researcher, these mixed method research design also help us to develop an interrogate picture of the societal phenomenon. So at the same time, the final view we see it is used to provide alternative viewpoint in a study. So with this, we'll straight away go to the what are the different types of mixed method research design. So these three we supposed to remember. The first one is the timing. The second one is the weighting, and the third one is mixing. So the timing, the duration, time duration for it's about the quantitative as qualitative. So with data collection period, the duration, that's the timing we need to keep it in mind when it's come to mixed method research design. And the weighting, whether quantitative or qualitative, which you are going to give priority as a secondary or primary method, the dominant which you are going to give. For that also the method. Another thing is a mixing, whether how are we going to mixing these data, the quantitative as well as qualitative data. Based upon these three only, these different types of this research designs also evolve. Whether these are the which we are going to see today, the 6 different types of mixed methods research design. So whether these designs are developed either this quantitative or qualitative data, the results can be converged, it can be connected, both data and the analysis can be connected or embedded the data. Based upon these three only, these 6 methods are evolved. The first one is we can go with sequential explanatory design. So sometimes we call it as a explanatory sequential research design also. Whether the term they be used as a sequential explanatory design and explanatory sequential design. So what is this? We already have when we are going with quantitative qualitative data collections, after that only we can whether we should have both quantitative as well as qualitative data, then only we can go with this mixed methods research design. So this explanatory sequential design, what is explanatory sequential design? So explanatory sequential sequence in the explanation. For what explanation? For what purpose we are going to explain this? First, we'll start with the quantitative data collection. So once we have a quantitative understudy, whether we have an interview or scale, what are the different quantitative tools we'll have from that we can develop that. We can have a quantitative data collection, and after once we finish the quantitative data collection, we have the process analysis like quantitative data, the separate study which we used to do in the quantitative data collection and collection analysis. We have the same thing. In the same way, once we finish the data collection, the quantitative data collection, we have a certain results, unexpected results need a certain explanation, further explanation. That's what the follow with. So in that case, we can go with the development of the qualitative data collection. So that's what we can see the third one. Second one we can see to clarify, expand the quantitative findings. The qualitative phase follows to offer deeper insight to the quantitative results. The ones these certain unexpected results come with the quantitative data collection, quantitative data. So that can be given further explanation through this qualitative data collection. That's what the useful interpreting unexpected outcomes or anomalies in the quantitative data. So once we finish this qualitative data collection and analysis, then we have a interpretation. So that's what is the last one. Commonly applied in well-established research field to enrich understanding of known relationship. So you can have this. So sometimes this quantitative data collection, this quantitative findings, we have a certain results. So for that, some results need a further explanation. We can go with whether we have a qualitative data collection, we have a qualitative, whether you can go for case studies or different types of methods we can use, depends upon the findings which we need have a further explanation. For that, we can go for the interpretation. Later, we can have an interpretation. No need to have an interpretation for all the to give explanation for all the findings of quantitative. No, through the qualitative findings, the results from the quantitative findings, which are the things are whether needed for further explanation. For that alone, we can go with the interpretation of the qualitative data findings after analysis. That's what this explanatory sequential research design is about. Explanatory. So every design has its pros and cons. So that's what we are going to say. What are the advantages of sequential explanatory design? It has advantage, so it has a both easy to start two-phase, quantitative as well as qualitative. The researcher performs two methods to collect one data at the time. So we know to have a, well, first we'll collect with the quantitative data. Then after the analysis is over, then only we are going with the qualitative data collection. We are not going to do at the same time, we not collect the both. So it's easy for the researcher as a single researcher itself, whether they're a PhD or the projects also. This method, if you want to apply, it's easy for the data collection. So even single researcher can use this method, easy for the data collection process, the individual researcher. And does not need a research team. With regards to writing a report, I already told you the previous one. This is a straightforward, can be written two phases. It has a clear characteristics. We can have a first quantitative data collection or analysis, then qualitative, which are the things needed, whether explanation for the quantitative, that interpretation alone we can give through qualitative data findings. The design is ideal for multi-phase for as well as single mixed research design. So we have a multi-phase also. We will be seeing the last end of the study. And then quantitative researcher, like the design has mostly start with the strong quantitative background. So when we are seeing the mixed method research studies, mainly this sequential expression design is widely used compared with other designs. So that's what we often tend to have a quantitative research more. We have a give importance to more priority to give quantitative. That's what these especially this sequential experiment design is widely used by the researcher compared with other research designs, mixed method research design. What are the pro cons about this design? So the time duration. So already I told you the previous one, time, waiting, and mixing. The weight which you are giving for that and then mixing. So the time. So if we have two types of ones, we finish the quantitative, then only follow with only qualitative. Obviously, it will take more time. And the researcher need to understand the qualitative process may be more time consuming than the quantitative phase. So if we are going for quantitative, it has only we have with the data collection for the quantitative interview schedule or any other forms in the quantitative. If we are using it, compared with qualitative, it may reduce less time, but qualitative, it may take more time also. And again, sufficient time is one of the important factor when the cons about this. A sequential explanatory design. For both stages, the researcher must determine whether to have a same participants or those from the same group for the both phases or select participants from the same population for the both phases. So these are the, I think this doubt I will be clarify very clearly. Sometimes mixed method research, the participants for the qualitative data participants samples for qualitative, other quantitative, whether to remain same or different. This will be an answer the last because all the different types of research it has own, whether they use the same or different. So that we'll be seeing that last, this point alone. So now we'll have an example of what kind of study we can use it for this sequential explanatory research design. For example, factors influencing school dropouts among adolescents. So whether this, if you want to know which are the factors influencing school dropout among adolescents. In that case, how this sequential explanatory design is more apt or useful, perfect. So see, first, the study is about understanding the factors influencing, this is the objective, understanding the factor influencing school dropouts among adolescents. So understanding factors is about the quantitative, sequential explanatory. You start explanatory, the weightage will give more to quantitative. So it's a influencing factors. That's what you are going to see. So first we'll start about what are the influencing factor. We have a scale, different scale. We can have it. That's with quantitative. Just may have a survey or interview schedule, or if we have a scale, we can go with that. We can conduct. I just give an example for that. We can 250, it can be 350 or 1,000. It depends upon the population, the sampling which we are going with. So for that, we can go with survey for 250 participants. From the quantitative finding, we got the major findings that low income students show higher dropout rates. In that case, this is the finding. For that, if you need any clarification, further is the unexpected. Low income students alone shows the higher dropouts and rates. So for that, if we need a further explanation, we can go with the qualitative phase. We can go for, based upon the findings, we can go for whether interviews or case studies. Depends upon the whichever the researcher is feel, depends upon the review of literature. This particular qualitative method is apt. Our tool can be used for collecting qualitative. That can be have freedom to choose whether you can have any. I mentioned here interviews. You can go with the focus group discussions, also even participants observation, or even case studies also began. But I have here mentioned only interview with the 10 dropouts. Here I mentioned 10. There is no necessary. It depends upon the saturation point where we are reaching. Then we can start. It can be 3 or 4 or 5. Is the numbers. The interviews is depends upon the saturation point, qualitative when it's come to case studies or interviews. When we are conducting this kind of interview, where we supposed to stop, when the saturation points we reaching, attaining, then we'll start with the other interviews or case study. So this is an insight we have. After this qualitative finding which we are getting, many leave school to work and support their families. See here, the main finding we got it like low income students so higher dropout. For this purpose alone, we have conducting qualitative. We are not going for entire study. We are not going for finding quantitative findings. For that, we are not going for qualitative study. Exclusively, certain findings need some clarification. For that alone, we can develop a qualitative data collection. For that, see, we got it like, for example, I mentioned here, many leave school to work and support their family. These are the main reason for the low income students so higher dropouts. So in that case, so you see, qualitative data explain the statistical patterns for phase 1. So phase 1 quantitative data. So this study, for in that case, this kind of study, this sequential explanatory design is the perfect one. That's what integrated provides a deeper understanding of dropouts reasons. So here we got the deeper understanding of why this low income students so higher dropouts rate. The reason is we got some interpretation, in-depth insight from the qualitative findings shows that many leave school to work and support their family. This kind of thing is just for example I am given this. I hope I am very much audible and clear about this method design. Sir? Okay. The next mixed method research design, that's a sequential exploratory design. It's so previous one, sequential exploratory, we given importance to quantitative. Here is start with the qualitative. It's like entirely opposite about the Then sequence, there should be sequence. The first we collect the one data collection, we analyze, then we'll go with the second one. So exploratory sequential design. So first we'll start with qualitative data collection. For this study, so mainly useful for if someone wants to develop any tool or scale. For example, if you want a psychometric scale, if you want to develop for any particular aspect, this mixed method research design is opt one. So we'll start with the qualitative data collection. So that's what I'll start with the gathering and analysis of qualitative data. Once the findings we got it from the qualitative one, whether they're based upon the themes, whether we used a crowd rate theory, with different types of qualitative method we used. For example, I'm saying whether you use for case study method or focus group discussion or a participant observation for any kind of research, based upon that you have a certain themes you develop from the findings, key findings we develop from the certain themes. The phenomenon, certain phenomena lack some clarity. For that purpose, we can go for the next quantitative phase is informed from the qualitative findings. So we have a qualitative data collection first. After analyzing certain phenomena lacks for the clarity, for that we have a further quantitative explanation is needed, exploratory, that what needed, then we'll go with the quantitative phase. It's used for, I already told you, creating new tools or figuring out factors for quantitative research. So if anyone is interested to go with creating in your research, if you are developing any tool, a psychometric tool for your research out of your research, then this design is opt one. And it's useful for creating, already told you, then often employed in novel fields of study or to investigate, incorrect problems. So once we finish that, only the same way which we are doing in the analysis interpretations, like quantitative explanatory design, sequential explanatory design, the same thing, the same way, but that is meant for unexpected results. We'll give the explanation through qualitative findings. Here, whether the phenomenon lacks any clarity, if you want to build up develop a scale, first we'll start with a qualitative and then a data collection. After that, we'll have, based upon the themes, we'll develop a questions with the literature. Then we'll have a develop a scale or even figuring out the factors for quantitative research. So it has a own like pros and cons about sequential exploratory design. The first one is like we are conducting first qualitative, then the sequence. So we are not going at a time, we are not going to do two studies. The phases are one at a time. So that is one advantage. The second one is the inclusion of quantitative aspect will make qualitative method more suitable for quantitative audience. Some people might have a if people are interested to quantitative research also, mainly for that, these things study, we can think for over on it. And then this can be used for multi-purpose, multi-phase, as well as single study also. So multi-phase, even the previous one also I told you, the multi-phase research design, this design also one of them, we can use it. That will be when we are going to, when I explain about multi-phase design, we can go for it. And what is the disadvantage of this sequential exploratory research design? The two-phase approach requires significant. That's what here, same way with time duration. So always think about this time, weighting, and mixing. So based upon that only, always remember these different types of designs also developed. So what are the advantage, disadvantages? So here, see the previous one also, the time duration. So once you are conducting qualitative, then after that qualitative analysis, then again after that you have to continue with the quantitative, you have to develop a tool, you have to conduct the data collection, then we analyze, then whether we have the app for the, whether if you want to develop a tool, we have a validity, reliability, you have to check it. That it will take, obviously it will take more time. And the research need to consider aspect of fill time. analysis also again further another matter. And the researcher will explore whether the same individual at the both qualitative as well as quantitative way should serve as the participants. So the previous one also I told you, these are the important things. For quantitative, for a mixed methodology, the participants remain the same or different depends upon the research design which you are adapting for the study. So for this sequential exploratory, sometimes there is no need to be even the same participants. It can be different also. And then procedures should be followed to ensure the validity and reliability of the score produced or the instrument. That's what I told you. Whether we are developing any tool from this study, this research design using that. So obviously you have to follow whether if you are going for the validity and reliability about the instrument, obviously it will take more time also. Then for the example about the developing a scale to measure digital literacy among rural youth. So what are the digital literacy? So about if you want to develop a scale for digital literacy among rural youth, this is a study. So it's about developing a scale. This is a main objective to develop a scale for measure the digital literacy among rural youth. So first we want to develop a scale. So first phase is for likewise, we start with the qualitative, then quantitative. The phase one, qualitative, will give the more primary importance to qualitative focus groups and interviews to explore the digital behavior among rural youth. It can be, I mentioned here. So what are the methods I'm using here? There is no necessary to follow the same methods about the whether quantitative or qualitative. It's not about that. For this study, it can be used. That's what it depends upon the researcher and then the literature only, whether we can have use for which method we want to use, qualitative, quantitative, where that can be decided. There is not necessarily how to stick on. For example, here I mentioned focus groups as well as focus group discussion or interviews to explore the digital behavior. Sometimes it can be even case studies can be done. So it depends upon the researcher. A researcher can choose which method about the quantitative or qualitative of for the research that can be done. So here, for example, here I mentioned whether the qualitative aspect I mentioned here, I used focus group discussion and interviews to explore the digital behavior about the participants among the rural youths. So what are the findings? Key things are developed: phone skill, online safety, social app, Android apps are usage and digital confidence. Whether how much confidence the person rural youth is having towards usage of digital literacy, digital platform. So these are the things is whether we got as a findings, key themes we got it from the qualitative data collection, qualitative data. These are the main key findings from the qualitative means. Based upon these themes, we can go for if we are developing any create a scale items. So once you want to, because once you are developed, we should have both. It should be the context, relevant, reliable, and validity. All the three things we're supposed to check it for developing any scale if you want to develop it. Even faster, the scale administer, I mentioned here, previous one I mentioned 250 here, I mentioned 300. It can be 400, 500 also, it depends. It depends upon the population, sample population. So we can go for it. I mentioned here 300. For example, we can scale, we develop a scale items based from the themes we got it from the qualitative. If we have developed it, then we can go for scale administer, then we have 300 whether the items we develop, and then statistical testing, factor analysis, reliability checks. It depends on the statistical test which we can use it for developing a scale. So once we conducted the scale also, we developed that factor analysis and reliability checks also done. After that, these qualitative themes guide scale creation. The quantitative data validated. It's the quantitative data we got it from then that is validates is a qualitative deeps. So outcome, what is the outcome is mainly a context relevant, reliable digital literacy measurement tool we can develop by using this sequential exploratory design. So next one, very simple, useful tool, triangulation model, we call this. So many of us might have here mixed method research. So that's called triangulation, the quantitative, qualitative. So for that thing, this is the easiest, well-known, concurrent, convergent, parallel design. We call it as a even triangulation model. Triangulation is model nothing but collecting a data, whether qualitative or quantitative data collection at the same time concurrently. So we have a quantitative data collection, qualitative data collection, at the same time, the data collection duration, both quantitative as well as quantitative will conduct at the same time. Data collections at the same time, analysis also will done in the same time. Whether the findings of these qualitative as well as quantitative data, we can compare or relate. How much these two findings are findings, whether we can compare or relate on each other. Based upon that, after that only we can go for interpretation. That's what here. Previous one, the quantitative explanatory sequential design. The more priority, the dominant, it's about quantitative. For exploratory design, it's about qualitative. But here, equal priority will given for the qualitative as well as quantitative also. That's why both method have a equal priority, neither is dominant or secondary. The data analyzed separately by using their own analytic procedure. We should not analyze the both data combined together. No, it should be analyzed or should be done data collection as well as analyze should be done separately, but the data can be compared later. The results are matched during interpretation in order to compare or confirm contracts findings. Whether the findings can be go aligned with each other or contrast to each other can be, whether can be, we can have a certain explanation for the explanation for this quantitative findings or quantitative, either a certain even link connection is there that can be interpreted during this this design. So the goal is triangulation. That's what the triangulation is called, the compare confirm contracts. These are the things it's called as a triangulation, where the combined evidence and the validity and the completeness of the results, the triangulation is about. So what are the advantages and disadvantages about the concurrent, convergent, parallel design, also called as a triangulation model? So you see, when we are beginning about this method, I told you it's good for beginners in mixed method research. The efficient architecture in which both data types are gathered at roughly the same time, same point duration, one phase of the research. So we'll collect the data, same time, quantitative separately, qualitative separately, and we analyze also separately on each other. And the individuals with the both quantitative and qualitative proficiency can be included the research type as a both the quantitative and qualitative data are gathered, evaluated separately. That's the same point which I mentioned. Yeah. So what are the cons, the disadvantages of this particular design? The demands, proficiency, and efforts of the data is gathered simultaneously. The fourth aspect of the study are equally important. So, like the previous methods, we give importance to either quantitative or qualitative. That depends upon. For explanatory, we'll give importance to quantitative first. Then for exploratory, we'll give importance to qualitative. Then only then other method will come. But here, both we have to give equal importance. Whether the quantitative or qualitative will give, you're supposed to give equal importance for the study method during the data collection. And the consequences of no agreement between the quantitative and qualitative results must be considered. That's what very important. So the consequence of no agreement. So the find data collection and the results analysis also should be done separately. At the same time, this disparity can be difficult to overcome and may need other supplementary data to be gathered. Sometimes, after finishing data collection, even analysis, sometimes researcher may feel that we have to conduct in certain, we need to have furthermore supplementary data to be gathered. That always there are chances, disadvantages about this particular design. How do the students, for example, for the study, which kind of study can be this particular parallel convergent parallel design? That's a triangulation model is useful for which kind of studies? For example, here, how do student test score compare with their classroom engagement experience when using the new teaching method? It's a question, research question I mentioned like previously. This is a research question. So the students test score, the study is about the students test score compare with their classroom engagement experience when using the new teaching method. The new teaching method, how the students and teachers are classroom engagement experience. That's what you are going to study. So that case, how this particular research can be used. So we want to know we implementing new teaching method, whether the experience of student and teacher. So parallelly, we can go for the study design would include a longitudinal. Obviously, it's a longitudinal study. It can be, depends upon the research. It can be 6 months. It's about the per semester. Per semester is 3 months. 4 months depends upon the colleges or like institution. 4 month semester is there. One particular new method is implemented on particular semester. So that longitudinal study, if you're conducting for 6 months or even during the course over the syllabus for 2 years courses or 3 year courses, we want to continue throughout the entire syllabus is completed. The students is from the first year to the last year. It can be whether the new teaching methodism, longitudinal study can be conducted too through this parallelly. So in that case, we want to know about the students, longitudinal study of students and teachers' experience in college using whether the interviews we can have and quantitative collecting quantitative data using questionnaires can be done, where there can be rate their experience on the Likert scale at the same time. So we can go for in-depth interview. For example, the class, we can have interviews at the same time. Even the experience in the quantitative Likert scale, whether the from the 5 points or 6 points, 7 points, it depends upon the 3 point or 5.7 point Likert scale, whichever. Even we can use for Likert scale, or we can have a self-structured interview schedule also can be used for collecting this study. So it depends upon the literature which we are having for the particular study. We can use it for the research gap which we are finding based upon the only we will be focusing on which data tool we can use it for. So once we finish this thing, we can go for the experiences. Once particularly we can connect the longitudinal study about students and teachers experiences using if you collected through in-depth interviews and collecting quantitative data collection using questionnaire. We collected the same time a different process. Then the experiences identified by the interviews can be verified in the quantitative questionnaire. The experiences, sometimes the in-depth interviews, from that we got certain experiences. So same experience also from the quantitative findings also we got it that can be verified. Thus, the use of qualitative and quantitative measures will add to the depth as well as the scope of findings. That's what the useful for this study. So always remember when we're going with these particularly concurrent, convergent, parallel design, concurrent, convergent, parallel design, triangulation model can be used whether at the same time, if you want to know about this kind of study, this particular research design can be used. So the next method is concurrent embedded design. So the concurrent embedded design, the next one is embedded design. So it's embedded design it can be concurrent and sequential also. It can be used it. But here I mentioned it concurrent embedded design. So embedded itself means it can be, we collect the data at the same time, whether quantitative data or qualitative data will give priority. At the same time, as a secondary, during the data collection process, we will have a conduct another quantitative or qualitative study. That is as a secondary small part. We won't give much importance to the particular secondary one. But the primary method is either quantitative or qualitative design we'll be using. During the data collection, we will have sometimes, see, both one method is primary, another is embedded. That's a nested also. We can call it as a nested as a secondary. Both quantitative and qualitative data are collected at the same time. So compare with the previous one, it's about concurrent, convergent. We will have a conduct both different time, same time, but data collection as well as analysis also we done separately. But after that only just interpret. But here the embedded is about whether the quantitative or qualitative we can give anyone is importance. We can give importance to primary, quantitative or qualitative. But embedded as secondary, we can go for it. Embedded method answer a smaller, a supportive subsection. So, but previous one, we give importance to both quantitative as well as qualitative. Here is an unequal priority. One is dominant, another one is a supplementary. So whether if you have a quantitative study, if you are conducting, during the same time, we can go for some qualitative data collection during the process about the quantitative. If you're going for qualitative, small portion alone, that's called as an embedding design. So that's what they give importance to when the dominant during quantitative data. We are going for quantitative study. During that data collection time itself, if you're going with qualitative study, that is called in order to supplement about the particular research. So that we call as embedded design. So this particular design in the integration occurs during a interpretation to enrich the main findings. So the secondary which we are using embedding, that will give the interpret to enrich the main findings about the research. So for example, this particular research, which is mainly useful, particular. So how does the new teaching method affect learning outcomes and how to observation explain student engagement? So I'm just giving the previous one. That's about the new teaching method. I'll keep it in mind, all of you. The question, the research about the previous one. How do students' test score compare with their classroom engagement experiences when using the new teaching method? It's a question about the previous one, that particular study. But here, how does the new teaching method affect the learning outcomes and how do observations explain student engagement? If you want to know about the particularly, how does this new teaching method affect the learning outcomes? Whether the new teaching method is affect the outcome about the students, and then how the observation explain the student engagement about the classroom teaching. What are the findings? So how we'll supposed to go with this particular design? So I told you it's a concurrent, the embedding. So it's about the previous one. The question is about new teaching method, how it's affecting learning outcomes. And these two questions are the mainly, how do observation explain the student engagement? So new teaching method, whether it's really affecting or for that, what we're supposed to go about, we need to find out how they affecting us about this new teaching method. That's what you want to find first one. Once we find out the effectiveness, then only finding. So how we can go for this, conduct this observation can be conducted embedded within this. classroom observation during the data collection. This new teaching method, when the effectiveness, if you want to conduct the effectiveness about new teaching method, the same time using quantitative data. That's what, like, even the interview schedule, if you're using for in order to know about the effectiveness teaching method from the students, the same time we can have a classroom observations, small observations, in order how the students are, whether the students are engaged themselves in the, whether the new teaching methods are implemented, the classrooms where we can go as a researcher, go and have a classroom observation. We have a quantitative data collection we are done for example, we are doing data for 3 months, for example. We want to know about from a particular different sector of schools or colleges. We want to know about, like here I will give us example of college, one semester. So we have different colleges we are selecting for the study. So each classroom will go and collect the data. The same time we can observe how whether these classroom observation, whether students, how the students are engaging themselves in the during the class teaching time, that can be observed. That's a qualitative also done during that. That's what the embedding within this, embedded within the data collection time, the quantitative data collection. The same time, the quantitative component is the dominant here. That's what the embedding. So using the test scores to evaluate the effectiveness of the new teaching method, that's what we give more importance to quantitative. We are going to through the test scores, we will be finding out. But what we are embedding, embedded with this qualitative classroom observations. For this kind of study, it's about, we called as a concurrent embedded design. So classroom observation are conducted to better understand student engagement and provide contextual explanation for the quantitative outcomes. Whether these effectiveness, how this effectiveness about the new teaching method effective among the students through the classroom, the student, whether the effectiveness is higher, whether the test scores are higher, we can, whether sometimes it can be given the observations that students are more engaged themselves when we are listening, as well as they engage more themselves during the teaching hours. So that can be when observation can be, the result can be come up with that. So that's what it's about, because the qualitative data serves the supplementary and explanatory role rather than being equally weighted or concurrently implemented. We are not going to have a concurrently. So previous one, parallel one is about qualitative differently, quantitative differently, even analyze also differently, but the findings will be compare, integrate, interpret. The interpretation point, whether compare, integrate, whether how is going aligned with, that's what we check. But here, the same time, we concurrent, but either quantitative will give importance or qualitative will give more dominant. But here, this particular case, the study, here the quantitative, that's what I hear, embedded quali mixed method research. It can be given as a embedded quanti mixed method also can be done. We say the whether it can be, not necessarily we have only quantitative first or qualitative. Qualitative will be embedded, not like that. It can be some study, it can be qualitative, will be the dominant one, quantitative can be a supplementary embedded. That's what we embedded the quantitative findings to the qualitative during the thing. That can be also done for the research, some research. So there is no, the embedded itself, there are two types of stuff. The importance for quantitative, the first dominant will be quantitative or qualitative. But the particular example I'm given, quantity is the priority dominant one, qualitative data is a secondary or a supplementary one. It can be reverse verse also can be done. So here, for example, I just want to give some clarification over on it, how this concurrent parallel and concurrent embedded, this design, what are the differences? So the priority will give to concurrent will give equal to both quantitative as well as qualitative, or embedded unequal. Either quantitative or qualitative will be dominant. Second, another one will be supplementary. The purpose about this, whether the compare or merge, how it's going. But here the concurrent embedded, it's about to support the dominant data method. Dominant the main method. It's a quantitative or qualitative, whichever we are choosing. Structure. Two full method we'll fully use different because from the data collection, it can be two studies. Quantitative and qualitative, we'll have a compare when concurrent parallel. Two studies will conduct at the same time, will give equal importance. But here, one full method, either qualitative or quantitative, will be using. For small, for another one, we'll have a supplementary, we'll have a mini method we'll be using. Relationship, it can be parallel, independent. For embedded, one is inside the another. For like a previous one, here, students' observations, the classroom observation, whether the effectiveness of new teaching method is effective based upon the observation we are seeing. Students are more engaged. We as a researcher doing the observation. This is one of the reason we can give. For example, here one is inside the other. Timing. That's what the important one. Timing here equal same time. So here also two different studies we will do at the same time. But here we'll conduct either quantitative study or qualitative. Within that only we embed with the other one. Sample, often the same population. Here, concurrent one, it can be the same population. Here, often smaller subset. It can be different also. Different populations can be done. The population means the participants from the population. So in the integration, at the end, what we will be doing, but here, it can be done during or after. Primary analysis also can be done. Here, because we're seeing the concurrent one, we'll interpret at the end only. But here, straight away, we'll have an interpretation. That's why it can be. So you can look at here, qualitative analysis can be before, during, or after. That's what here also I mentioned here. The integration about the results, the findings at the end, and when it's come to concurrent parallel, concurrent embedded is about during or after primary analysis. Which one is best for? Is best for the concurrent parallel is, that's what the triangulation model also we called as. And then we have explanation and enhancement about the particular research. So if we need any research, is further explanation. So that's what the previous example we seen for this concurrent embedded one, whether the classroom observation, new method, whether effectiveness about the new method, we want to know how much this new method is effective. We have an explanation through the qualitative, the classroom observation. That's what the study enhancement or explanation also can be done through this concurrent embedded research design. So that's what another one is. Sometimes we have a certain confusion over on its embedded on explanatory sequential. So both are sometimes gets certain confusion over on it. Sometimes explanatory. What will be quantitative will be conducted first. Then after once the data collection is over, then we'll go for qualitative based upon the unexpected results. We need to give for the explanation. But when it's come to embedded, whether if you have, for example, quantitative one, first we'll dominate with the quantitative one. Will connect the same time. Study will be intervention to enhance the interpret the main study. That's what we should know both studies are different. Always you see concurrent parallel, concurrent embedded also different in each other. Same way, we should not confuse with how this embedded design as well as explanatory sequential. The same way is explanatory sequential too. Whether there will be qualitative will be primary, and then quantitative will be following the quantitative follow the quantitative follow the qualitative about the timings about the exploratory sequential. It's about when we are developing a tool for that only using exploratory sequential design. So the last one is the fifth one. Fifth one of the mixed method research design is the transformative design. Transforming, what purpose this design is mainly using? Transforming. So it's mainly, I want to say, this particular research design is mainly used for, you can say, the action research. That's what I see. It's about particularly focus on particular theory, or we want to go with any social justice or empowerment. Mainly, if you want to study about the marginalized group, weaker section, for example, women, person with disability, even the children who are below poverty line, people from the below poverty line, different sector about in a marginalized sect, about the weaker sections, about the weaker sections or marginalized group. From them, we want to conduct a study. This particular transformative design may help. So that's what the sequence, the transformative phase work. It's like more or less like sequential. Here, the sequential is the sequential also be used. It depends upon the sequence. Is you see here, I here mention here qualitative. It can be start with either qualitative or quantitative. But quantitative, I mentioned previously, it can be quantitative or qualitative, which one we conducted, follow with the quantitative data collection, like, the sequential one. The same way, we'll start with the quantitative one or qualitative. Based upon their findings about the study, particular study, this quantitative data collection can be done. So once you have findings from the quantitative or qualitative, which one you have taken the first, we follow with the next one. Then will be interpretation. Then we'll go for kind of action. Here we see here how it can be done compared with sequential one. Exploratory. Here, this study, the research mainly focused from the research driven by the specific theory advocacy aim. I already told you is mainly for this particular design is useful for marginalized empowerment of marginalized and social justice related study can be done. The priority will give given either qualitative or quantitative. Which one is given first? We start with, it depends upon the study. So integration, the results are meant to advance social justice or empowerment of marginalized group. The outcome will be generate evidence for policy change, awareness, intervention, or community action. So that's what we again, once the interpretation over, next, the study findings through the interpretation will go for action-oriented design. So how we'll see how this design we can go for the example, then we will get a certain clarity over on it. Some understanding, you will get clear understanding over on it, how this transformative design is useful for these particularly social justice empowerment about the marginalized group, action-oriented research. So here the example about that, women experiences safety in public spaces and factors influence their vulnerability as understood through an empowerment-based framework. For example, if you are seeing the study is about the women's safety in public spaces, whether how these factors improving their vulnerability as understood through an empowerment-based framework. So women empowerment later study. This is about women empowerment later study. How much women's safety experiences safety in the public spaces. So we have taken this. So in that case, how this particular transformative design is useful. The first, so here you just see, here I mentioned quantitative doesn't mean the sequence. You can start with either qualitative or quantitative. There is no necessary you have to start with particularly with quantitative. But this particular research, women's experiences. We want to know about the women experience of public spaces and then how these factors influence their vulnerability as understood their empowerment of based framework. So here first we'll start with we want to know how much these particularly their experiences in the public spaces, women experiences. So further, in order to know about the subjective one, the experiences, we can get it from the subjective. Then we can go for even qualitative one. So qualitative data, we start with it can be, I mentioned here, method, I use participatory FGDs, focus group discussion. So when it's come to this particular, it can be case studies also done. There is no necessarily we have to go with only particular, always remain saying that this mixed method research design, when it's come to quantitative or qualitative design, you can use, depends upon the research which you are taking, the review of literature and research gap. The researcher can use any type of quantitative or qualitative method for collecting data. for any type of research design. But here I mentioned here qualitative data. We begin with the qualitative one. Qualitative study will go with the participatory FGDs, focus group discussion. Focus group discussion. So from the women group of 10 12 members, women identified from different sector, those working in different sector. For example, women from the rural area, which depends on the study, we can go for it. One from the working women. So different sector about we can go for it. So we have for FGDs we can conduct it. Other ones we conducted women identify unsafe places because of once from that the findings we qualitative study findings is coming there. The women identify unsafe places, certain experiences they are shared, and then the proposed solution. So very importantly, so the findings we got it. They even focus discussion might have certain. They gave me some solutions for what are the experience we are facing. For the solution may give the woman itself, the participant itself might be given certain solution for that. Based upon the qualitative one, we can go for survey, whether the measures of the harassment, the levels of perceived safety, and the environmental conditions about the women, the public places. That can be survey can be conducted from the different stakeholders. So it's about only women. Sometimes even the frequency of harassment from the women also we can conduct it. Levels of perceived safety from the women we can conduct the participants, environmental condition. Even sometimes, even the study needs, you can conduct it from the men also. It depends. Depends upon that. It's not necessary. It depends upon the researcher. They can conduct it. So see here, the study guided through the feminist empowerment framework, woman empowerment framework. That's what the main one concern about the study. Whether how much the public spaces for women is safe for the women. So that's what you are going to show. So action oriented. So women act as a partner, not just as a respondents. So here they are not just given participant. We are not going to do only this participant. Once we collect the focus discussion over, even there itself they are giving certain even proposed solutions. They expect the researcher will expect certain so action oriented means obviously the participants also should be involved for the research, involved for the further action also. Then only we go for this participatory focus group discussion in order to action oriented research, or it's mainly go with this. They are that's what you mentioned. Women act as a partner, not just as respondents. The results are used to advocate for policy change. The results mainly, so it can be see here, lightning, the public places of the night, and police patrol, safe transport for the women. That can be from the study, can be the policy advocate for the policy change. It's just an example. The participants don't make it think that this only about this. Just from my certain understanding, I given this can be done for this particular method alone. So the goal is mainly empowerment, women empowerment and social justice, not just understanding. So that's what it's about, directly going for policy implementation. That aspect, this particular research design is more useful too. The last one, before going to always keep in remember, the results are matched to advance social justice or empowerment of marginalized group. So here we have taken women. This can be any type of marginalized group. We can use it any kind of study, which you feel this kind of study can be used for using this transformative research design. The next one, the last one is multi-phase. The multi-phase design. So if you are seeing the previous one, the explanator, the first one, the explanator is design, sequential design, exploratory sequential design. Both are I mentioned when it's come to the advantages here. So it can be done for multi-phase as well as single study. Also, I mentioned here when it's come to advantages of the particular two type of research design: quantitative, sequential, explanatory design, sequential, exploratory design. How this multi-phase is mainly connected with this two. That's what we're going to see. See here, multi-phase. It can be start with anything. It's first multi-phase itself will get into. It's not only till now the previous 5 types. What we've seen, two study, whether quantitative or qualitative, whether the weightage will be different. It can be equal, whether the one which will be dominant, another one will be secondary. Supplementary will be there. But multi-phase is not about. It can be conducted qualitative study or quantitative study, then quantitative study. It depends. The multi-phase, whether the needs research need for more long duration, the study can be conducted for that kind of study. The multi-phase design is more useful. So multi-phase occur one of the other, not simultaneously. First we'll conduct either qualitative study or quantitative, then we go for next one. After once we finish, next we'll have, I mentioned here 3, it can be conducted 4th also, mixed method. Quantitative, qualitative, then quantitative, then qualitative can be conducted. So each phase may be qualitative, quantitative, or combination also. Even sometimes the first phase will start with the embedded one. Embedded is can be, it can be either qualitative one or quantitative one. Within this mini method, we'll use either qualitative or quantitative. So for easy phase, the combination also can be done. So we'll start with that. Once the results of the first study will inform to the second study. The second study, the same way, second one we finish, then we'll go with the next one. That's what the main purpose. That's what the results of the earlier phases inform the design of later phases. The purpose is often to develop, refine, to test and evaluate interventions, programs, and theories over time. Is mainly if you want to develop any kind of program, community development program, educational related program, this particular design is more optimal, more useful also. That's what the theory is over time. Using in program development, evaluation about the study, a larger project, community-based studies, and longitudinal mixed method research, this particular multi-phase design can be useful. Whether we can go with how this, for example, developing a digital literacy program for rural youth. So previously what we have seen we want to know about the developing a scale among rural adolescents. Literacy rate, in order to know, develop a literacy rate among the rural youth. That's what is in the sequential exploratory design we have seen. But here we are going to develop a digital literacy program for rural youth for how this particular study can be useful, because already once we done, you can link with that, we can connect with that, the previous example which you already have seen in sequential exploratory, developing a scale for literacy, digital literacy among rural adolescents. Here I mentioned rural youth, that's what you have seen previous one also. But here we are going developing a digital literacy program. So first, what we can do, you recollect or remember the second method, the second type of the research design, sequential exploratory design. So that will be developed. Tool. Till that we can think. First, we'll start with the interview exploration. Interviews with the rural youth in order to identify the digital barriers. So based upon that only we can go for the development of even scale through the quantitative one. There's among the different upon the numbers, the population samples, we can go for collect and the findings from the themes we get it from the quantitative findings. Based upon that we develop items, different items, scale items. For then only we can go for this quantitative data collection. The findings we get it from that, we go for then validate and create a validate about the literacy tool. That's a tool we will be validating. Once we finish that, validatory over, reliability, validity, everything we done with that. Till that, this is called sequential exploratory design. If you done this, that's what the advantage about that. You can finish with that. But when we want here is about the implement that developing a literacy program. So how we are going to have a literacy program, digital literacy program. Here we develop a digital literacy assessment tool also we develop through using the sequential exploratory design. Then next, we want to have a conductor developing a digital program, literacy program. So the next phase is coming in. That's what it's not about single, it's a multi-phase. So till that one phase is over, the next phase, the second one is over. The third one is we conducting another one. That's we called as a multi-phase. So then quantitative as qualitative program evaluation can be connected. So what you can implement the digital literacy program and evaluate its effectiveness through surveys. We already done with we developed the digital literacy assessment tool. Can be done as a pre and post, whether they implement during the action research, there can be done. They implement the digital literacy program. We start with, the tool can be pre-test, and then once they implement the digital literacy program, you can go for post-test. We can go for whether how much this digital literacy program is effectiveness. We can go with the pre and post test findings through the surveys and interviews, or sometimes we can go for focus discussion once the program is over. You can go for focus discussions also. Can be. That's what this particularly multi-phase research design is. It's about how much this literacy program is effectiveness also we can be connected. So here developing about the program, so we develop a scale, and then we find out the effectiveness of after developing only if you are developing the effectiveness about through the study. So you just think about the time duration. So the timing, not the important factor. That's what we already mentioned here. Longitudinal, the last one we see here, longitudinal mixed method research used in. That's what if you have a conduct for like year long for 2 years, it depends. It depends on the program. If you want a particular program you want to implement, this particularly multi-phase research design. So even often people are using this particular design in order to implement this digital literacy program here. For example, here it can be done. So now we'll see how this analysis about different types of mixed method. Till now, we have seen 6 different types of research design. First one, sequential. We have seen sequential, explanatory. There, explanatory design, sequential, exploratory design. The next one is concurrent, convergent, parallel design, and concurrent embedded design, and transformative design. This last one is multi-phase design we have seen. So now, what are the comparative analysis of all these 6 methods we are going to see? The timing, always you start with that, the timing, weighting as well, weightage, which we are giving for the particular which method, and the third one is mixing. So based upon that, we can see for integration. That's why integration. So here the timing. Concurrent designs will give importance to both collect the data at the same time. Concurrent will collect the data at the same time. When it's come to sequential designs, we collect the first one. Once we finish one, the explanatory, qualitative will collect the first one. Data qualitative study will be done in the first. The second will be qualitative study. But here exploratory, qualitative will be the first. Quantitative study will be the second, sequential. So this what sequential design collect one data after the other, the timing about this. So when it's come to priority, when it's come to concurrent, we'll give importance to both equal weightage for quantitative and qualitative. And then the embedded, if you're saying whether qualitative will be the more sometime dominant or quantitative will be the dominant one. So the priority, that's what you want to keep it in mind. And then even Even the sequence also we give first priority to quantitative one. The explanatory will give importance to quantitative one. By exploratory will give importance to qualitative one. The last, second or third one is this integration, the point. The merging, connecting, embedding. So merging, what we see, convergent design. Design will mainly merging. That's what the concurrent, convergent, parallel design will go with. Data can be integrated during the analysis alone. The connecting, one phase leads to and inform the next one, connecting the sequence. The third one is embedded one is, so one data is nested with the other. Rather this give the explanation about the main findings. We give explanation. They're used in the embedded design. So complexity, simple designs that can, when it's come to basic designs about conversion, easy implement, but may offer less depth. Complex design provide richer insight, but require more resources. Flexibility, some designs allow more adoption during the research process. And when it's come to explanatory sequential, have more rigid structure. The purpose about this different again, exploratory design are best for theory generation. Explanatory design excel at testing and refining existing theories. Convergent designs are best or ideal for corroboration. That's what validation. And the research context, certain design may be more suitable for specific disciplines or research questions. So you just remember, but comparative always remember three things when it's come to mixed method: the timing and priority. That's what the weightage, and mixing. That's the integrating point. Three things. For this thing, compare with these four. The first three things always keep in mind. Which method you want to give up. So once we start with the study, you feel that mixed method is apt for your study. In that case, you always think about the first one is how whether my study needed mixed method. That's what I started with that. Then timing, whether the time duration for your study, whether the timing is apt for your particular study. Then we can go for, based upon that, you can find out which design is apt for your study, whether the sequential or concurrent. In sequential, whether we want to go for quantitative one or qualitative one. This depends upon that. When you come to explanatory, it's about certain results have an unexpected result comes with, for that clarification will give through the qualitative study. But exploratory is about mainly, it can be, for example, it can be used for developing a scale. In that case, we'll give importance to first qualitative study. After qualitative study is over, then only you have to strengthen these findings from the qualitative study findings. So the quantitative study can be conducted. So we want to focus on which time duration we want to know. The second one is priority. The priority is about another one. The weightage. The weightage, we want to give whether quantitative data, qualitative data. So that also we need to keep it in mind. And the integration point, see, mixed method, only three things we are going to do with the findings. We are going to either the findings of both quantitative or qualitative, whether you're going to merging. So when it's come to convergent design, it should be, we are going to integrate data analysis. But yeah, and then connecting sequential design, because of first we'll flow with the quantitative or qualitative. This explanatory means we'll start with the quantitative one. Then next follow with the qualitative. But here then explanatory. Exploratory will go start with the qualitative study, build to quantitative one. So for that, we are going to connect with how this quantitative one study findings is connected to leads to another one. That's what we'll give in the typically in the sequential design. For embedded one, embedding one data type is nested within the another one. We already seen the previous one of the examples about how this new method, teaching method, the observation, like effectiveness of new teaching method will during the data collection process when we are conducting a effectiveness, we are using for any effectiveness tool about the particular tool, we can go for whether observation during the data collection itself, we'll go with observations, classroom observations. That's a qualitative done will done that's the embedding. The dominant will be either here, that case, the example, as per the example we have seen the study, the quantitative one will be the dominant one. The qualitative will be the substance about the findings, whether the effectiveness, whether the new teaching method is more effective. We can say the explanation will give through the classroom observation. The students are more actively participating during the teaching hours. So that can be embedded with the main one, research. So again, I just wanted to give some explanation about this complexity and then flexibility. So which method giving some flexibility? Even transformative allow the more adoption during the research problem. So that some design, there's a transformative. Transformative is mainly using this method is mainly for social justice or empowerment related for the marginalized group. So sometimes it can be start with a qualitative one or quantitative or qualitative either. Which one we can use it by you're transforming. That's what you're going to see. Another thing is explanatory sequential have more rigid structure. So that's what come. For example, even exploratory also here exploratory also can be added. The sequential explanatory is sequential. We start with the only quantitative. There's no flexibility. Once we finish that analysis, data collection, quantitative study will conduct. The data collection is over, then we'll go for analysis. Some findings alone, we need to give explanation. That's a rigid about the structure about that. The same way, likewise, even the exploratory sequence also, quantitative study, qualitative study will be done in the first, analysis over. The next we have to follow the build up to quantitative study. That's what we will be conducting it. So this rigid one, we cannot simply go away with that. But compare with any, for example, multi-phase. Multi-phase also it can be. We have full freedom, like we can connect any which method you want to use it. I can use because of different designs. Other than any designs can be used in the multi-phase, even transformative also. And then the purpose of this particular study design. Mixed method design. Exploratory designs are best for theory generation. Exploratory, that's why I told you, tool development. Three done. And the explanatory designs program. Explanatory is excel the testing and refining existing one theory. And convergent designs are ideal for corporation and strong. How whether the convergent designs for whether the study is like can be connected with strong as well validate the purpose. This can be used. And then research context. Certain designs may be more suitable for specific discipline or research questions. It depends upon the research we can context. So next, I just wanted to highlight that choosing the right research design, mixed method design, which you want to consider. Whatever we discussed so far, with this only, I'm just given certain points. First one is we have to consider your research question. What kind of research question you are having is first. So research question you develop based from your literature review and then research gap. After literature review only we find out the research gap. After having research gap only we developing step to the problem. Then we can go for developing a research question. Whether research question is more oft first. And once you get over, then access available resources. Whether in order to conduct a quantitative and qualitative data collection, existing available resource also you need to keep it in your mind. So certain thing we need to keep it in mind, whether The resource, available resource also matters when we are going for mixed method research. And evaluate the research context. Whether research context which you're going to do, whether this has a scope for mixed method or not. In mixed method, which design is optimal? That's what you have to do. And determine timing. So again, you keep it in mind. Timing is one of the important factor when it's come to mixed method research design. Mixed method research, timing, weightage, and reality which you are giving mixing. How which mixing you are giving? This is the important one. That's what always remember the timing. Determine the timing. Based on the timing only you can select which out of these six types, which one is suitable. Once we decide a mixed method is suitable for you, then you can think over on it. And then establish priority. That's what Pirati already told you. And then plan for integration. Integration is the another important one. And then consider philosophical stand. Whether philosophical stand also one of the factor when you mixed method. So when the beginning about the session, I start with the mixed method research is about a realistic value. That's what we are going to this particular mixed method research is doing on it. We are going to know about the realistic viewpoint. That's what you're giving quantitative or qualitative data. I will give more clarity over on the particular research. And then consider philosophical stance also important one. Another one is access flexibility needs. Access flexibility needs. How much we are going to adopt the particular research. That's what we need to keep it in mind. Access flexibility needs. Whether the needs, flexibility needs about, how much these factors out of six methods, which will be more optimal. The flexibility is there. That also you need to keep in mind. Evaluate complexity. So already previous one already seen complexity. Yeah. And then seek expert advice. Even though we might have an understanding about mixed method research, having broad understanding about mixed method research we might have. But apart from that, see expert advice also one of the factor. That's what we need to keep it in our mind. Yeah. So here I just wanted to give some clarification or some better understanding about how this seek expert advice also added here apart from that choosing the right research design. Even though mixed method research is developing, one of the recently worldwide people are more started using this mixed method research, but sometimes without knowing the actual research design, they simply use for. So that's what when I go through this different papers, I study even PhD studies for my research purpose. I found like many of them that we're using simply sequential explanatory research design. For example, I'm saying there is no mention. Even there are wonderful studies done on the different mixed method research design based upon that. There are study in number of study we can find it now. We can get it. But when how much see the process. For example, if you're using this explanatory sequential design, so you have to follow the proper that procedure, the follow the design. The first we will start with the quantitative one, then the qualitative one, findings, analysis. Then after that only we write findings also separate when it's come to explanatory design, but certain results need some explanation for that only we will be interpreting in the study. The writing also different pattern is there. It will be seeing later. So another one important one. Seeking advice, also one of the factors for if your PhD scholars are here, you will have always your guide. You'll get some expert, even though apart from that, people in the particularly mixed method research, experts also can be getting from the some ideas over on it. So another thing is, just wanted to say The participants for research design. So some of you might be having this question. Before that, I just wanted to answer. I just wanted to give some clarification over on it. The participants for the research design, name mixed method research, whether the participants for the quantitative, qualitative remaining the same or different. One of the important questions will come to different people when we are going with different. Some of them might be saying it should be different. Some might be saying it should be same. It's not necessary to have a same or different. It depends upon the researcher. Can be taken for same participants for both qualitative as well as quantitative. It can be different also within the population. The sample which you are selecting, within that only will be chosen. For example, if you're saying convergent, parallel design, explanatory, sequential design, embedded design, for these can be same. Obviously, conversion. So, for example, if your total population sample is only 200. So, obviously, if you have been collecting quantitative with 200, you are collecting data from the quantitative study, collecting out of all the, for example, 200 you are collecting. For qualitative, to whom you will collect? You can collect from the same population. Same samples can be done. It's acceptable. Other explanatory sequence also the same. So, you have same. And then embedded research design. See, for the example which I given here, new teaching method, effectiveness new teaching method. You are collecting data from the students. From where we'll get the observation, we are observing them also. So the participant remaining the same. So I just wanted to clarify here. Here, convergent parallel, concurrent convergent parallel design, explanatory sequential design, embedded design, the participant for both quantitative and qualitative can be the same. But where it can be the different one, exploratory sequential. For example, exploratory will have the small sample size only be conducted. For example, 10 interviews or 7 case studies may be conducted in order to develop a scale. From that, you may have a certain themes. So that 200 or 300, 500 also you may collect for in order to develop, validate the scale, you may collect the data from that explorative design, sequential design. Transformative also the same case, we can go for different sample population and multi-phase mixed method. So multi-phase mixed method also, sometimes it will be different too. So that's what, always keep it in mind. When you're going for mixed method research, whatever design you want to select, the participant, it can be same or different, depends upon the research design. That is not necessarily in a common way. You cannot say mixed method research design means the participants for both quantitative, qualitative should be remaining the same and different. It depends upon the research design only. Research design. Next, I just wanted to give the developing a mind map for mixed method research. Till now, I given some overview about like what are the types, different types of mixed method. There are 6 methods, and then there is comparative like analysis about like difference between all these 6. And then in between previously I've given like difference between concurrent parallel and concurrent embedded and sequential explanatory and embedded is what are the difference between these two. From this examples I given. This one, keep it in your mind when we want to develop a mixed method. Keep it in your mind. If you have a understanding, if anyone is interested to go with your mixed method research for your part of your research, you can think over on it, how much this can be effective. First one is, if you can take note also, you can write down, and then what is your research topic. The first one is developed from the choosing the right design and the previous comparative analysis. Based upon this only, this is developed. The first one is your research topic. Whether the mixed method is whether it your scope or you can write it, and then how much, what do I want to learn first. The next is connected with the what kind of data sources can I access? That's what I said. Available resources also one of the factor. Access available resources. So what data sources can I access? Whether if you want to go with mixed method, whether you have available data for quantitative as well as qualitative is available, can be accessible. Even the resources for secondary, even review, whether what are the different data source can be accessible. Can I access for review also? That also you need to keep in your mind. Without review of literature, we cannot go for any research. Research review based upon review only. We develop a finding the research gap and the research questions, objectives, then only go with the methods and materials, all things based upon the review only. Without review, we cannot. That's what based upon the accessing. What data source can I access? And qualitative data gathering strategies or quantitative data gathering strategies. So that also keep it in mind. So if you want to conduct the mixed method, quantitative as well as quantitative, what are the strategies I have? You mind map for you just think on your particular research, then you can just put all of these things questions. How could they support each other, concurrent or sequential? Then you can list out all the points. And what constraints do I face for data collection process, even though for developing these methods, obviously research it's easy at the same time, it may have a constraint too. What are the constraints as a research group may be having that also can be highlighted, like you can write down all these things. And what are the resources? I already told you what sources, data sources available. What are the resources do I have? For example, data collection process, analysis, all those things are sometimes the last one previous one I said seek expert advice also. That also one of the resources. Likewise, what are the different resources available for data collection, review, all the process, which are things you have to keep it in your mind. And what assumption am I willing to make out of the research? That's you have to keep it in your mind. So see here, all things is connected from your research topic. One or the other, all each are interconnected on each other. So how much this research, so once you fill this mind map, you get clarity over on a particular research. If anyone is interested to do mixed method research in your part of your PhD study or your project, some of you like faculties might be here, any researcher might be here. If you have understanding what I just go with this, particularly this mixed method, this can be, you can list out this particularly. Once we put this, you will get clarity over on it about the particular mixed method. Even your particular research design, you will get it actually. In this, I just, here I will conclude with this takeaway points, which we supposed to take away points for this overall the session. We start with the first mixed method design and what is the use for who we want to choose, when do we want to choose this mixed method research design. Then this different 6 types of research designs. So again, I will hit timing, weightage, and mixing. That's an integration. Also, you need to keep it in mind. So that these 6 types of research design, you just think about like sequence of the data collection, how we are going to collect the data for these 6 different types. So the sequence are concurrent. Whichever we want to do different types, you keep it in your mind. The second one is kind of data you plan to collect. So the kind of data, for example, for quantitative, which data we can collect for qualitative. That's also you have to keep in mind source of the data. For each design, it has one source of data. The data collection you want, which kind of data you want to collect, that also you need to keep it in mind. The next one is developing research questions. So if you have a proper, even writing a research questions, if you want a mixed method research design, for this, you need to write a research question for the mixed method, not for quantitative or qualitative. the research question should be focused on the particular research design also. That also you need to keep it in mind. I not go in depth about this. You already have upcoming session you have, but I just give certain things you just to keep in your mind when we are going with different types of mixed method. Mixed method in that which design you wanted to adopt. For that, you need to always keep in your mind developing a research question, also one of the important one. So because it's the research design and the research question objectives, all these things is go on each other. Should be connected each other. The flow should be there. You cannot for research question is one thing, but if a research design is adapted for a study can be different means there won't be it don't look good also they don't be good won't be considered as a research too, and then determine the roles of qualitative and quantitative components of this study. Another thing is the determine the roles and quantitative as well as qualitative components also you have to keep it in mind. Decide which mixed design method design with their rationale is fit to the roles of qualitative as well as quantitative component determining consistency. So if the sequence, the data, and then source, developing research question, which are the roles for your data or qualitative and qualitative components also you need to keep in mind, and decide which mixed method design with the rationals best fit the roles of the qualitative as well as quantitative component. So we determining consistency, whether this depends on all these six methods: sequential explanatory design, sequential exploratory design, concurrent, parallel, convergent parallel design, concurrent embedded design, transformative design, multi-phase design. All these six methods you need to keep in mind. The weightage also, how much we are going to give, depends upon only we'll give. So the study, the mixed method design, it's about selecting that. Again, I'm repeating the three things: time, weightage, and priority. That is a mixing. Surely giving, mixing the data. Whether the quantitative is important or qualitative is important, how we are mixing the interpreting the data, it depends upon only this. So these are the references for this preparing this thing. I think I'm stopping here for this question and A session, Q&A session. If you have any questions, you can ask me and like justify. Sir?
Sir, good evening, sir.
Good evening. Just a minute.
Yes. Sir, actually, it was a very beautiful session. You had explained from the beginning to the end. It was
Okay.
really awesome, sir.
Okay, thank you.
We had gained enough knowledge about this mixed methods. We could not
Okay.
even understand what is the mixed method still now the days.
Okay.
But over your session now, it will be more effective and it create a very eye-opening session for us, sir.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, sir. And my dear participants, the floor is open for the discussion. If you had any doubt, kindly ask with the experts and you can clarify your doubts. So floor is open for the discussion. So kindly ask your doubts. Whether you cannot be able to unmute your mic and ask the doubts, you can put into chat box. We can forward to the resource person.
Yeah, that can be also done.
Yes, sir. Participants are welcome to ask their questions because it was a very good session.
If you have any doubts, you can put it in the chat box too. Okay. Question which I got it from.
Sir, we can wait for 5 more minutes. If there is a no question answer, we can wind up the session for today, sir.
Yeah, there is a question.
No, sir, no, sir, no, sir. One more person is asking the question.
Yeah.
He's asking.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah, sir, I have doubts
Yeah.
regarding sequential exploratory.
Exploratory. Yeah.
Yeah, sir, in our objective, if we have one variable which is new, and for that variable, if I want to go for exploratory, so first I have to go with qualitative, and then from that I can make the new scale for that new variable, right?
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, it's not about only for the developing a scale. It can be for any unexplored phenomena is there. For clarity also, we can go for this particular design.
Yeah, okay. So, sir, for other objective, if I'm adopting a new scale, so can I add like this new scale into the adopted scale? Like, is it possible?
So that case, you think over this particularly this multi-phase research design.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sir, fine. And one more question, if you are doing exploratory sequential, then in that, how can we put up together the findings? Like first we are doing qualitative, based on that
Yeah.
we are going to quant, right? So
Yeah.
findings should be based on only quantitative, right? Or should we include the qual as well? Yeah.
See, qualitative, first we'll start with the qualitative. We'll have an analysis and findings we'll have. In order to, after that, certain lab phenomena is there. So some results as certain more clarification oriented, clarity is needed. For that, we'll have, for example, even for that case, I told you, even if you're developing a scale, that's what another thing is I told you about the scale we are developing for example, as I given here, for digital literacy among rural adolescents. So you think over under that particular thing. So digital literacy you want to develop or like the scale for that rural adolescents. So first we'll have a understanding about like what are the factors, literacy barrier factors from the particularly from the rural youth. We have a qualitative data collection. We'll go with that. So for that, we have go for even FGDs will go, case studies will conducted. First, qualitative study will be conducted. So after the findings, we develop from the certain themes we have. We may develop the findings, may collect from the even that I told you from the example. Even the findings will be even the qualitative data study findings based upon that we construct a addition. Next one is even developing a scale. So that case we'll have items we develop from the finding which we get it from the findings from the qualitative one, the themes we develop, items we develop from that, we'll have a larger scale. So we'll get some clarity over the exploring about the findings we get it from the qualitative one, we develop from the scale. So we'll validate it also. I hope I answered it. Hello. Yeah. Thank you. The next question, can you explain a little bit, elaborate more on the point, the last slide, take away how to determine the role of quality component of research study. Okay. The last one. Okay. Just a minute. Yeah. The quantitative and the qualitative. So first we need to think like whether your research, it has scope for quantitative or qualitative. If we should be have both, once we have finalized that, it has a scope for both quantitative and qualitative. The next one is whether depends upon your your review of literature and research gap. You will identify your methodological gap also will be identified. After that only you need to check whether which component it will be, you have to focus more on it. You have to give weightage, whether quantitative or qualitative. Whether if, for example, I'm told if you want to develop a scale, then we'll go for instrument. If I develop an instrument, then we'll go with this exploratory design. Then we'll go qualitative will be the, if it's a phenomena, that case we'll go for example, like that only we can go for, we'll give importance to either quantitative or qualitative. But then it's come to concurrent one, we can go for either both, we'll give importance to both quantitative as well as quantitative. That's what you have to keep in your mind when it's come to, that's what the component of research will be, which one you want to give the role of the quantitative or qualitative. Okay, very nice question. Thank you. How to ensure the research design we chosen is separated for our topic. So you think about like, that's what you need to focus on. First, whether the research objectives we are developing, that's the same aligned with the previous answer, the previous question, the answer for the previous question also is like more related with that. Like how you choosing the topic is about your methods and material which you are adapting, depends upon only you need to check it like your topic is whether this aligned with your research or not. So once if you're using any mixed method or anything, you need to, your title itself give some clarity over it. Mixed kind of method you are going to adopt it for your study. Yeah.
Sir, I have one more question.
Okay.
Yeah. Sir, can you please suggest like how much time does it take? Like if it go with sequential exploratory,
Which one?
can you please sequential exploratory, like first qual and
Sequential
quant?
exploratory. Sequential exploratory is depends upon which type of research you are using actually. The first one is exploratory, it's about you start with the qualitative one.
Yes.
So qualitative, it's obviously it depends upon the whether we going with the case to which qualitative method you are adopting. That is a reason. That's the case actually. Whether if you're going adapting for even case study method or focus group discussion or participative focus discussion or interviews, this depends upon the researcher. Only the researcher will come to know. There is no specific timeline. We can I cannot just as that this one recommend particular research duration of. This depends upon the researcher and which method you're adapting in the qualitative one. And then this finding only which is going for qualitative, that one only we can define. So if it's the PhD level, you think more on like how much your duration is there. I think is PhD or project depends upon the timeline about the particular research duration only you can think over on it, which method.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Your session was really impressive. Thank you.
Thank you. How to address the difference between using qualitative and results using quantitative, and how to address the difference in results using qualitative as quantitative methods. Okay. Okay, difference. Yeah, it depends upon the research design which you are adopting. The first one, if you're seeing quantitative one, say for example, I start with the, for example, I just say with the clarify with the sequential explanatory. Sequential explanatory, we start with the quantitative, then we finish with the data collection and analysis over. So we'll get the findings about the quantitative study. So certain findings, we need to have a certain explanation. Findings need a certain explanation. That's what in the example also I given here. So we need certain low income students as a high dropout rates. So how much why low income students alone has a high dropout rate that we are seeing here. So obviously that will keep it in mind. So we'll go for based upon the particular results alone, we go with qualitative study. So we'll come to know, we may say due to the low income students, they have to leave for work in order to take care of their family. So that case, this one, the importance about like how much importance you are giving to quantitative or qualitative is depends upon the research also. The results also is depends upon the research design which you are using in mixed method also. It's keeping in mind. That's all. So another question which we how will correlated? Correlating is depends upon the mixed method, like which design you are using. See, the quantity explanative design will just interpret only the particular results need some clarification. We won't give explanation interpreted for all the quantitative findings through qualitative findings. No, we'll have only particular results as unexpected results if we're getting for that only we'll go with this qualitative result findings. We'll interpret like that only. Every design has its own pros and cons. It has its own way of doing it. Okay. I think some mind map is there. Mind map is for your own understanding about how you'll get it, like overall these things you just whether the weightage which are given, whether finding sources and then resources available for your study, whether the sources available, whether data collection for process for qualitative data is available or not. Whether what are the different constraints, all these things you just put it like in your mind map, you'll get certain understanding, clarity over it, how much this research is. Yeah, your research is suitable for mixed method. Yeah, this mind map is for own reference only. It's developed, it's not for like you have to particularly, it's for your own reference. I hope I answered all the questions.
Yes, sir. So hope every questions will be clarified and justified in this proper way. So, sir, is the question is over, sir?
Yeah, I answered all the questions which I got it from the event chat box.
Yes, sir. Today's time is up. So we're going to wind up the session by saying thank you so much, sir. We had a very good session with a crystal clear presentation of the mixed method of research. So we are hoping for the another class by upcoming days.
Yes.
So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
The meeting is officially winded up.
Thank you.
The host will leave the meeting, sir.
Yeah.
Sir.
Thank you. Thank you all the participants for listening, for your patience listening. Thank you, organizers too.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the
Thank you so
Thank you, sir.
much. It's been a wonderful presentation. Dear participants, tomorrow for today, requesting all to kindly please be on time. We used to start by 6 o'clock and we used to end by 8 o'clock. Thank you so much.